Sonja van Riel has interviewed Petra Leene, gallery owner of Amstel Gallery. Although based in Amsterdam, Petra sells fine art photography to clients from all over the world. The gallery participates in international art fairs, and in addition to their regular exhibition schedule, they host and organize special exhibitions in combination with the fashion world. Amstel Gallery offers high-end contemporary art that is accessible, affordable to all, and defined by a great versatility. The gallery owner features established and emerging artists from Europe as well as the USA.
Well, Petra, thank you very much for receiving me in your gorgeous gallery. I have a few questions for you. The first question: do you sell fine art photographs only through your gallery, or are there other channels too?
Well, it's a whole variety. It's the gallery is the main place where the sale is happening, but the market has changed so much the past couple of years. So I do a lot of sales through art fairs. They are a huge part of the place where the sales happen, or where you can at least show some of your artists. Then of course internet is a very big part of the market as well, because people they tend to look you up through the internet. They see you on Facebook. That's also, we have a lot of customers through Facebook. Mm-hmm. I didn't believe in it at first, but now I'm totally for it, because it helps you to spread the word, and it brings people to the gallery. And I also do a lot of collaborations with fashion designers, fashion brands, cosmetic brands. For example, we had L'Oréal Paris. They hired our gallery for an afternoon to do a product presentation, and then we had our artist on the wall, and a lot of fashion bloggers, they saw it, they wrote about it, and people came to the gallery like that. And I also do a lot of collaboration with fashion stores. Here in Amsterdam we have the PC Hoofdstraat. It's one of the most famous shopping streets where the high-end retail is. And we do exhibitions in their spaces. So we invite customers from the store and customers from our gallery, and we promote a photographer that way, so that a whole new audience get to know the artist, and we sell photographs in that way as well.
Okay, marvelous. Yeah. And the art fairs, where do they take place?
Well, art fairs, they take place in the big metropolitan cities like New York, Washington, Miami, Basel.
Basel, Switzerland.
Yeah, Basel, Switzerland.
Yes.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Berlin, Amsterdam, and we are present there. So that's also a thing that has changed, because a couple of years back people tend to go to galleries. Like in the weekend, it was on your day off, you went gallery hopping, so you went look for art. But people, they don't have the time, or they don't take the time anymore to do that. So in the weekend, in the spare time, when they want to look at art, they go to a museum. If they want to buy art, they go to an art fair, because then they have a variation of different galleries. So they have more options, and they can combine it in 1 or 2 days. And people, we notice that they make their decision based on 1 or 2 art fairs, and then they decide what kind of art they want for their houses or their collections.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Can you describe the profile of your clients?
Well, that's so hard, because there is not one profile. It's because sometimes I'm surprised myself what kind of people buy art from me. So it changes a lot. It's not like the rich and the famous like it was a couple of years ago. Sometimes it's just a student who really has asked for a payment plan because they are totally in love with a photo, and they ask me, Petra, can we do it? But I mean, it takes me at least 24 months to pay for it, because, you know, I'm just a student, I don't have much money to spend. So we work with them because we don't believe in a certain profile of a client, because the whole world has changed, and therefore also clients have changed. So we believe in global citizenship and globalization. So our customers are from all over the world. They're not only from Amsterdam, but they're not only from New York. They are sometimes from Warsaw, Poland, or sometimes they high-end CEOs of a company, and sometimes, like I said, it's just a student. So it's everything in between. So
Okay.
I cannot really answer that question.
So it's rich and poor, well, poor,
yeah,
less rich,
yes,
and also corporations and
yeah,
private individuals.
yes, and of course, and lawyers, and sometimes our clients who have more money to spend, they say, oh, I love it, you know, I have 3 or 4 photos of that photographer, or I want the whole collection, I want the whole series. And then, yeah, of course, you are so happy when that happens, but that's not the majority of our clients. The majority is people who are starting to like an artist, and they're going to collect its work. So they start with one photo, and of course our goal is that they have more of one photo in their collection. But it's everybody in between, and and I think that's what makes our gallery kind of unique, that we don't have a prototype of collector.
Okay. Has there been a strong growth in the sales of fine art photography during the last few years?
Yes, there certainly has. Yeah, a couple of years ago, especially in the Netherlands, how do you call it, common sense about photography was like, oh, I can do it myself. Give me a camera and I can make the photo. And I've had so many conversations with people about it. Like, no, it's. I mean, of course, if you have a camera, you can take a photo, but it's. If you have 5 photographers and you have 1 subject, they all make different photos because everybody has his own way of looking at an object. And the cool thing is that the media has really started to write about photography. Photographers became stars. Here in the Netherlands, of course, we have Anton Corbijn, Erwin Olaf. They're worshipped as artists, while a few years back it was really hard to be a photographer because people kind of looked down at it because it was not a real type of art. And that totally has changed around because also in the auctions worldwide people tend to pay a lot of money for photography, and I think that's a good thing.
Good for photographers.
Yeah, for sure.
And for you,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I understand that you feature artists from Europe and the USA. How do photographers find their way to you?
Yeah, that's a whole complex journey because it's some they send a portfolio to you. I think I have maybe like 10 or 12 portfolios sent to me every week, and a lot of it. If the email is not written properly, or they don't have a correct link to their work, you don't even look at it because it's too time consuming. So on that way, photographers find their way to my gallery because they just propose their work to me. It's also because people from the business, they tell me, Petra, I know a good photographer that might be a good fit for your gallery. Take a look at his or her work. It's also because when you are at art fairs, you see photographers at other galleries, or they come to you, or you just read them in magazines. Sometimes I have a magazine when I'm like in the United States and I read about something. Hey, this is such good work, it will fit my gallery. Then I approach the photographer. So it's a whole all kinds of ways. So it's not specific that I only take artists who submit to me, photographers, but it's a process, and sometimes it comes from a very unexpected way, and then it turns out to be a very good relationship for a long time.
Okay.
And so it's variations.
And what is your motivation to feature certain photographers or not?
Yeah, well, to feature them, they have to fit my gallery because if you look at my the combination of artists that I have, it has to make it stronger. Because a photographer can be really good, like with his work itself, but if it doesn't fit the other works that I feature in the gallery, then there's no chemistry, so it won't work. It also has to. They also have to have chemistry with me because I have to sell it. So if I don't like it, or if I cannot relate to the photography, then I cannot sell it. So it's also a combination of different things. The reason why I certainly do not work with a photographer is when I think the idea is not original, or when it really doesn't fit the whole chemistry of the gallery. Because sometimes it can be really good work, but when it's too strong, or it looks too much alike of something else, then I have to say no and look further.
Okay. Yeah. Can you predict beforehand if an unknown talent is going to make it?
Yeah, I would say yeah, but I've also made mistakes about that, of course, because I've made a mistake that there was a photographer that made work and it was fantastic. It blew my mind away. I was like, wow, this is so new, I love it, and this is a new talent. It's somebody new in the business, and I was like, this is going to be it, and it was picked up by media and everything. But then I started to know the photographer, and then it looked like the work, how do you call that? it wasn't built properly, like, so the technique was not good enough. But at first hand it looked so good, and it looked like somebody had a good eye and good technique and good education. And then it was kind of a pose, so it all fell apart further on in the career of the artist, and the artist couldn't deliver because all the work that the person made, I'm not going to say if it was a he or she, because when then you could just see like that the work that was made after that photo, it didn't level up. So it was a promise, but it was a one lucky shot. And then, if the artist would have had that, how do you call it, that level of photography, and would have taken it further, then it would have been a great career. But now it just went off like a candle in the night, because it didn't have the right baggage to back it up. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, sometimes you can see it, because when a photographer is very driven, it has an idea that is new and also original, and it's also he or she has good education of his camera, how to work with what kind of paper, the outcome of the photo. Does he want it to be printed? Does he want it to have diasect? Because there are all kind of different ways to present your work. But if a photographer has the whole package, the idea is good and he has good spirit, then you can normally tell, like, does he have what it takes to become an international talent. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it requires a lot of hard work. Yeah, and sometimes you also see artists, photographers who think they're already kings, because they had already one show or they did something outrageous, and then they get kind of lazy, and then if they stop working at a certain point, you always have to give extra and more. You're never done, because you're always as good as your last photo. So you always have to work to be better.
Okay. Do you do an online search on new contacts?
No, I should probably, because I'm not a huge fan of internet. I don't have a computer in my home. I use it for work, and in my spare time I'm not a people who is behind the computer. Sometimes it's stupid, because it could have saved me a lot of trouble, because now I know that when I'm going to work with an artist, I Google him or her. I didn't do that in the past, and because I didn't want to be be influenced by because what I also found about the internet is that there's so much negativity on the internet, because people are anonymous, and it's so easy to put people down on the internet. So that's why I'm like, well, it's only the opinion of the anonymous, so it doesn't really say that much to me. So I would say no, but on the other hand, I Googled the photographer, because then I can see what he did, or what kind of images of the photographer is on the internet. And then it kind of stops there, because I believe more in human interaction, and I use Facebook to promote an art, and my own website, and that's perfectly in order. But no. Sometimes it's handy for some research about interviews, but that's why I always ask if I'm going to work with a photographer, like, send me a press book, because I need clippings. I need to see the interviews that have been in magazines and stuff, because people can make up so much on the internet. So that's why I really don't put too much value on that.
Okay, interesting. Okay, when choosing a photographer, is it relevant that he or she has an academic education in photography?
I would say no to begin with, because sometimes creativity is you're born with that, but it's helpful if you have an education that you at least know your technical stuff. Because when a photographer doesn't know, and it also separates the amateurs from the professionals, of course, but I don't necessarily believe that a photographer that I work with for my gallery needs to have that Rietveld Academy, or what you call that, photography schools. It helps, because most of them already have it, because they're fond of it, and it's an investment in their education and their creativity. But creativity, you are born with that, so you can be a very technical, perfect photographer, but if you don't have the creativity, then you cannot be an artist photographer. So I don't know. Let me think about the artists that I carry. I think everybody has this education, only maybe not Patricia Stur, but I mean, she is around so long. She learned, but she had an education, but it was like 30 years back, what was different than it is now. But I would say that, I don't know, I don't No.
Okay.
It's kind of a difficult question, you know, because it's so.
Yeah, but it's interesting to know that nearly all of your photographers have had an education.
Yeah,
so
that's
that
true.
says enough.
Yeah, that
right?
says enough. Yeah, if you think about it, yeah.
Okay. How do you determine prices for fine art photos?
Well, that's also something you do with the photographer, and it's also based on the level that your gallery operates. For me, it's international, so the prices should be a little bit higher because we go to international art fairs, and if I sell prints of 50 or 100 euros or dollars, wouldn't make any sense because then you could never work with that because there are a lot of costs that has to be covered. Also, the photographers that I work, or what I demand of photographers, is that the way they present the work has to be top notch. So I mean, I don't want inferior framing or paper or the way to present it. So that also costs a lot of money because it has to look good. And that way you already go to a higher level of pricing because there are a lot of costs involved. And also the photographers that I work with and that I present at international art fairs, they put a lot of money in making their photos. Some built whole studios, they did setups, they bought props, they hired models, how do you call that, stylists to make it look good, assistants. Yeah, and then of course there's already a high price that's put into the production, and then when you want to make a little bit money, then of course the price is already high. So yeah.
Okay. And how do you split the money?
Well, that also depends. What did the artist do already to promote himself? What did the artist do to present his work? For me, it's handy because I'm married to a framer, so we can provide framing for photographers. So sometimes when I do it for the photographer, I'll take more of the when the photo is sold because I paid up in front for the framing. So I mean then that money is mine. Sometimes artists, when they are working with multiple galleries and when they've already built a name, they've done a lot of exhibitions around the world, then you don't get as much money as when you really make an artist and bring him into the art world, because then the investment is more for the gallery, and then of course the photographer gets a little less money. So it's you know, there's this variation between 30 and 50% that you work with photographers, and that's based on what kind of investments you both do for the work.
Okay. Okay, what other qualities should a photographer possess besides photographic and artistic skills?
Well, nowadays a lot, you know, because you have to be good in PR. You just have to, because you have to sell yourself. You also have to work with me, what's also sometimes not easy. So you
really?
have to. Yeah. No, but I can demand a lot from photographers that I work with. I mean, I hate laziness. So I mean, when a photographer works with me and I mean he just thinks, oh, I just make my work, I give it to Petra, and you know she brings it to the world, then you're wrong, because I do shows. I want you to be present there. I want you to be better. I don't want you to stay at a certain level. You have to be always better than the next thing. So you also have to be kind of, I think, a people person, because my gallery is very outgoing. We organize a lot of events and I like my artists to be present there, to talk and to interact with the clients. So that's also something, if you work with Amstel Gallery, that you have that certain skill. I mean, it's not that you have to be as outgoing as I am, but I mean, if you never show up at events that I do, I don't think that then it works, you know, because you need this interaction with the world and with everybody else. And I like in looking at new ways to present work, so I'm sometimes open for a gamble, like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. So maybe you have to be a little bit adventurous as well if you work with me. Yeah.
Okay, some photographers believe that the competition in their field is killer. What is your opinion on this?
Yeah, it is. If you're, how do you call that, if you're in the mediocrity field, then there's killer, because then there's so much people who do the same as you do. But when you have a bright idea and when you really know what you're doing and your outcome is really nice, then I think the competition it's there, but it's you can overcome that. But Yes, there is a lot of, because a lot of people think they are photographers, but if you really look closely, then there's only a small amount of people who are really good and who are really playing the field in the international artwork, and then the competition is not that bad. I think it counts from when you just come out of art school, when you're like young and you're in a certain age group, because then people don't know what they're doing and they try, like, oh, I can be an actor, I can be an artist, I can be a photographer. If you know, if you do this broad education where you get all these aspects in your education, and then you can say, yeah, there's a lot of competition. But if you really specialize in something and you really believe in what you do, and you really go for it, then I think you will overcome the competition, and you will be noticed, and you will make it.
Okay, okay. What do you suggest to photographers who want to present their portfolio to you?
Well, have your portfolio really well put together. Sometimes I get proposals like, and people say, oh, I don't have my website in order, but I'm working on it, and here's already 2 photos of my series. That doesn't work. So don't approach a gallery unless you have your whole portfolio ready. Also, know how you want to present it. Do you want it framed? Do you want to have it on diasec? Do you want to have a certain frame? Look into that. Know what you want. Don't just make something and just, you know, go with it. No, be really certain of what you want. Also have a statement for your work ready. That I think that's really important, that you put in writing what you meant to say with your work personally, not what you want the viewer to see, but what you felt when you made it and why you made it. And don't stalk a gallery, because sometimes, you know, when you send it to a gallery and you don't get a response within 2 days, don't call the gallery like, hey, I sent you an email and you don't even respond. That's, a gallery gets so many applications from artists that sometimes it takes a week or it takes 2 weeks, and then wait for a proper, because I think that the gallery should write a thank you note, like, hey, thank you, but it's not a fit for me, or I'm not taking in a new artist. And then if you don't hear from a gallery, then I think that that says enough, and don't pursue too much, because it gets annoying.
Okay.
And also, one really big tip, if you are a photographer and you want to be noticed, don't go to a gallery at an art fair, because that happens so much. You are at an art fair as a gallery, you pay a lot of money to be there, you present your artist, you really curated what kind of work you were going to bring, so you put a lot of effort and time and money in there. And then photographers come to your booth and they bring their portfolio and say, hey, can you take a look at my work? And that's a really no-go, because I've never heard of a photographer who's been noticed that way, because you got a big red cross on your name, and people won't invite you, because you don't empathize then with how the business works. So that's a really big no-no. So keep that in mind.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, do you have a last tip for photographers in general?
Well, always give it your best. I think I've said that numbers of times. Also, I think it's maybe a good tip to experiment with what kind of techniques there are nowadays to present your photo, because a lot of photographers, they tend to do it the old-fashioned way, like, hey, they made a really cool photo, they print it and that's it. But there are lots of different ways nowadays, because you can work with multimedia, you can work with video, you can work with different ways to present your work. Like, think outside the box sometimes, because everything has already been done, and if you sometimes make combination of things that's already been done, you come up with a new idea, and that way you can stand out.
Okay. Thank you very much, Petra.
You're welcome.
Thank you.